Okay, chapter 8. Chapter 8, we're going to continue with this theme that the Rambam started to talk about how Moshe was different than all the other Nevi'im, and he's going to devote a whole new chapter to this thesis. Okay, he's going to start Hilchos Yesodei Hatorah, the beginning of chapter 8. It says, Moshe Rabbeinu lo he'eminu bo Yisrael mipnei ha'osos sha'asa. The Rambam makes what do they call it? An impact statement. Okay, that Moshe was not believed by the Jews, or i.e., right? In Hebrew, you say sometimes the opposite. You say it the reverse order. That the Jews did not believe in Moshe because of the miracles that he performed. What does that mean? The Rambam's about to prove, or at least theorize, that it wasn't all of the miracles, the myriad of miracles that were performed, were not performed to prove Moshe's level, okay, to prove that Moshe was the Navi par excellence. That wasn't the motivation of Moshe. Why? Shehamamin al pia osos yeshvu badofi she'efshar shi'aseh ha'os balat v'kishuf. So similar to what we said yesterday, is that it is possible for, we have these all the time. We have right, we have magicians and we have mentalists and all kinds of people that have right higher powers than the average person, right? That could also do magic, but that doesn't necessarily mean that he or she is a navi. Okay, and that's what the Rambam says over here, that if you if you see a navi in fact performing these miracles, and you decide that this is the proof necessary to believe that he or she is a navi, it's not good enough, because magic exists. Now the side question is, why does magic exist? Why does God in his universe allow that? And we actually spoke about that a while back when we were discussing the concept of sorcery and magic in Sanhedrin, if you remember. On Samech Gimel, Samech Dalet, Samech Hey is the sugya about the lav of Ma'onen, Machashef, Dorish al Hamesim, right? All the lavim we have about listening to magicians and being swayed by them. So I think we brought the Rabbeinu Bachai over there that discussed that this concept of magic really exists, and it's kichesh pamalia shel mala. That's where the word kishuf means. That's where it comes from. It's a notarikun, right? Because you're ascribing a new set of parameters that doesn't exist, right? You're creating something, and by you creating this, you're contradicting the heavens. Right? That's why it's called kishuf. But anyways, so this concept does exist. There are people that have the power to do magic, says the Rambam, but that doesn't mean that you should believe that they're a navi. Okay, so again, it wasn't the the power that Moshe had to convince the people through his tricks that made him the ultimate Navi. All the miracles that Moshe did weren't to prove that he's the best Navi out there. He did them simply because they were necessary, right? For example, Lola Havi Raya al Navua, he didn't do these tricks, we'll call them, to show that he's a Navi. Very interesting way the Rambam writes it, right? Literally, the Rambam says he had to drown the Egyptians, so therefore he split the water and let them drown inside. So I saw the commentators say on that, it makes it sound like that's why we did Kriyas Yamsuf, right? If someone were to ask you, why did we split why did Moshe split the water? Well, we did Kriyas Yamsuf because we had to leave the place and there was water in our way, right? That was the number one, right? That was the number one objective. The objective wasn't to necessarily kill the Mitzrim. That was just a result of what happened. But from the Rambam's words, if you actually look at it, it makes it sound like the reason why Moshe split the sea was to kill the Egyptians. Okay, which is very, very, very difficult to understand the way the Rambam says it. But anyways, but that's what the point is. The point is that he didn't do it to show off his ability to do magic. Right? Why did we have man? Not to show that Moshe could do the best tricks, but because we needed food. So therefore the man came. We were thirsty, so we had the story of Mei Meriva. Kafrubo Adas Korach, right? Adas Korach rebelled. Bala Osan Haaretz, right? Therefore, they had to get swallowed up. Again, he makes it sound like that was the only way to kill him was through a miracle, right? Of the earth opening up. All right, a little difficult to understand. And if you go through the Torah, all the miracles had a reason why they were necessary. But again, it wasn't to prove that Moshe was a Navi. So if that's true, what was the one instance that was the, that was the ultimate proof that Moshe was the Navi? Bo, the Maimed Har Sinai. Okay, that's what it was. It was the Maimed Har Sinai, She'enenu Ra'u, V'lo Zar. Everyone saw it, and the commentators say that it's even us today. Our neshamos were there, right? Says the Medrash. V'aznenu shamu v'lo acher. We saw it and we heard it. Ha'esh v'hakolos v'halapidin. V'hunigash al harafel. Moshe went into the thick cloud. V'hakol midaber elav. And the voice was spoken to him. V'anu shomin Moshe lechem or lehen kach v'kach. And we heard God say, Moshe, you tell Bnei Yisrael so-and-so. And that was the nail in the coffin. That is what sealed the deal, that Moshe is the ultimate prophet, and nothing else that Moshe ever did in his whole career was necessary. Okay, it's a very, very important point that the Rambam is attempting to drive home. Okay? Okay, so again, we witnessed God screaming out to Moshe, this is what you tell him. This is what you tell the Jewish people. And then the pasuk says, face to face, you shall, God spoke to us. Right? It wasn't only them, that it was also us. So all of this is to prove that we are witnesses to this event. And how do we know that the Ma'amad Har Sinai itself is the ultimate proof of Moshe's nevuah? Okay, that can't be fabricated. It's all true. Shenemar hinei anochi ba elecha ba'ava anan ba'avur yishma ha'am b'dabri imach v'gam b'cha ya'aminu la'olam. Okay, that's at the end of Yisro, I believe, right? That's where Moshe is set, where God tells Moshe that you're going to come to me in an Ava Anan so that the people can see you, okay, that they could hear when I speak to you, and they will believe in you forever. Okay, so that pasuk was written by Matan Torah. So the Rambam gleans from that, Michlal, shekodem davar zeh lo ha'aminu bo ne'emanu shehi omedes la'olam. Before this, there was no guarantee that what the things that Moshe didn't seal any deal for the people. They didn't say, oh, this is a guarantee that he's some kind of Navi. It had to take the ultimate Mamid Har Sinai, for say, okay, now we could believe in you forever, as opposed to before, where it could have been shaky. It didn't have to be 100%, right? It could have been that what? Just again, hard to believe. Everything that Moshe did in Parsha Shmos, Va'era, Bo, and Bishalach, okay, most people would say, okay, wow, there's got to be something to him, but still, it wasn't 100%. Okay, so if there was any pickbook, if there was any doubt, the end of Yisro was the ultimate proof that Moshe is the true Navi. Okay, so now we go on. Nimtzu Eila Sheshulach Lahen, next halacha. So to those people, okay, who Moshe was sent to, Hem Ha'edim al Nevuah. So wherever Moshe went, the people who he went to, they became what we call the Edim al Nevuah. So Shehi Emes, the Ein Tzarach La'asos Lahen Os Acher. Okay, so it wasn't necessary for Moshe to do any kind of trick for anyone who he went to. Once he was considered a true Navi, that was it. Anyone who he went to, they could testify that this is our true leader. Shehem v'hu edim badavar. That, so to speak, Moshe and the crowd who he was with are considered like two witnesses. Shra'u davar echad biyachad. Okay, that witness something together. Shakol echad mehen eid lechavero. Each one can testify on the next. Shehu amar emes ve'ein echad mehen sarach lahavi raya lechavero. It's 100% unassailable, right? There's no way one could doubt it. Kach Moshe Rabbeinu Kol Yisrael Edim Lo. Everybody, so to speak, are witnesses, right? To Moshe, Achar Mamed Har Sinai. After Mamed Har Sinai, he doesn't need to prove himself anymore. That's it. No more proving necessary after Har Sinai. And that is what God said in the beginning, back all the way in Parshas Shmos, when it all started. Right? So this is, you should have been thinking this at home, that what are some of the osos that Moshe did before Har Sinai? Well, you know the story that when Moshe was going to go to Mitzrayim, God said, I'm going to give you a couple of tricks to do, right? Remember, he put his hand in his pocket and he got tzoras, and then he was going to throw the stick down and it was going to turn into a snake, right? So he was armed, so to speak, with all kinds of tricks to prove himself. So the Rambam is going to discuss this now. Okay? So, God said they are going to listen to your voice. Right? So, but Moshe really knew that anyone who just believes me because of a trick that I do, that's not real 100% belief. There's still some doubts. And Moshe didn't really want to go. Moshe, in the beginning of chapter 4, in Parshas Shmos, says, they're not really going to listen to me, right? He was getting all skeptical. Until God told him that these signs aren't going to take effect only until after Yetzias Mitzrayim. I may give you an os now, but it's still not going to convince everyone. What's going to seal the deal is what we said before. It's going to be Har Sinai. Proof that I sent you. That's going to seal the deal, Har Sinai. And God actually hinted to him when he said the ultimate os, right? The sign that I am the real Mishaleach, I am the real, one sending you. God actually tells Moshe that the ultimate sign is that you're going to tell them eventually you're going to leave this country that you're subjugated in right now, and you're going to arrive at a mountain. So he was referring to Har Sinai. Nimtzeit Omer Shakol Navi Sheyamud Achar Moshe Rabbeinu Ein Anu Ma'aminim Bo Mipnei Ha'os. So we see from here that any prophet that comes after Moshe, we do not believe them just because they can do a quick trick. Levado Kadesh Shenomar Im Yaseh Os Nishma Lo L'chol Ma Sheyomar. Any Navi after Moshe, again, and he's repeating this again from what he said yesterday, almost word for word, right? Remember, you have to listen to the Navi, not because he could do the trick, but because it's Xeris HaKasuv. Because Moshe himself commanded that if a Navi does this, you have to believe him. Whether or not you think, wow, anyone could do this trick, but you have to believe him, right? Just like we believe Edus. That's what the Rambam said yesterday, and he's going to repeat it again. Ela b'bnei hamitzvah shetziva Moshe b'Torah va'amar im nasan os elav tishmun. If the Navi performs an os, that's the sign to listen to him. Just like, and the Rambam doubles down, kumosha tzivanu lachto chadavar al pi shnayim edim, that you have to, right? That you have to come to a conclusion based on the testimony of two people. Even though we don't know if they're lying, we can't give them, right? We don't have to give them a lie detector test. We just believe them flat out, right? Just like we believe to Adam carte blanche, so too it's a mitzvah to listen to this Navi, even if even if the only thing he could do is perform a trick. Okay? We don't know if it's true or not, but if he performs it, we have a mitzvah to listen to him. We're going to do just the last one of the parak. Is there a Ramban after this? Shmuel, should I continue? You don't want to answer?
Well, we got to say something for tomorrow.
But there's a chapter 9 for tomorrow. And 10. And 11. And 13 other books. Okay. We will stop here.